Over a decade ago, a prominent Bangladeshi politician just vanished. No trace, no ransom, no closure.
Yeah,
This is the story of Elias Ali.
right.
And today, we're diving into these sources to try and unravel what might have happened.
It's a case that goes, well, it goes beyond a simple missing person.
Yeah.
Elias Ali was a key figure in the BNP. He was their general secretary of the organizational department,
Right.
even president of the Sylhet district BNP. So his disappearance sent shockwaves, I mean real shockwaves, through the political landscape.
Exactly. And it wasn't just a random event either.
Yeah.
This was Dhaka, Bangladesh, April 17th, 2012.
Right.
Elias Ali's on his way home from a BNP meeting at the Intercontinental Hotel
Okay.
when he and his driver, Ansar Ali, are abducted. Just gone.
And the sources, they paint this picture of immediate chaos, public outcry, protests erupting, particularly in Sylhet. And a police response that, well, let's just say it added fuel to the fire. There were even reports of police firing on the protesters.
So from the very beginning, there's this sense that something is deeply wrong.
Yes.
And that leads us to the central question of our deep dive.
Right.
What really happened to Elias Ali?
Well, the sources you've gathered, they take us deep into that night.
Okay.
Elias Ali at the BNP meeting, the journey home, the sudden abduction near his residence in Banani. It's like a scene from a thriller, but with real-world stakes.
And what I find so chilling is that lack of concrete information in those initial hours and days.
Yeah.
It's that void that allows suspicion and conspiracy to thrive.
Exactly. And into this void, the RAB enters the picture.
Okay.
You're likely familiar with their reputation.
I'll talk about the Rapid Action Battalion.
Yes.
They've been implicated in a number of alleged enforced disappearances over the years.
Right.
But what makes their involvement in Elias Ali's case particularly disturbing?
The sources detail these interactions between a RAB officer, Moshtaq, and Elias Ali's wife, Luna. He initially assures her that, they have leads and Elias would be returned soon. So imagine that, like that sliver of hope that must have given her.
Only to have it ripped away.
Yeah.
It's almost more cruel than silence.
Yes.
To offer hope only to then admit it was fabricated.
And it wasn't a one-time thing either. The sources, they show this pattern of Moshtaq stringing Luna along for days,
Right.
offering reassurances and then going silent.
Yeah.
False leads were planted. Rumors spread that Elias Ali was sighted in places like Pubel or even the border area of Kulora.
Wow.
All dead ends.
It's like they were deliberately trying to muddy the waters, make it harder to pinpoint responsibility,
Right.
delay any real investigation.
Yes.
What I'm struggling to understand is the why behind all this. Why target Elias Ali in the first place?
Right.
What made him such a threat?
I think to answer that, we have to look at the political landscape of Bangladesh at the time.
Okay.
Remember, Elias Ali wasn't just any BNP member.
Right.
Sylhet was a crucial stronghold for the party, and he was instrumental in building their presence there. His influence, his popularity, it made him a valuable asset to the BNP and, by extension, a potential thorn in the side of the ruling party.
Okay, so this wasn't just about silencing one man. It was about sending a message.
Right.
Disappearing a prominent figure like Elias Ali would send a chilling message to anyone else who might dare to challenge the status quo.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that's where this case really starts to resonate beyond the individual tragedy,
Yeah.
It becomes about the fragility of democracy,
Mhm.
the lengths to which those in power might go to maintain control.
But we can't forget the human cost of all of this.
No.
Luna, Elias Ali's wife, she didn't just sit back and accept this.
No.
The sources describe her as a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. She filed a habeas corpus petition in the High Court,
Right.
demanding to know her husband's whereabouts. But, as the sources suggest, justice in Bangladesh, it can move at a glacial pace.
So what happened? Did the High Court take action?
Wow.
Did the government offer any explanations or assistance?
The sources, they reveal a troubling pattern.
Okay.
The High Court, often perceived to be under the sway of the ruling government,
Right.
didn't issue any directives to locate Elias Ali, and the government itself denied any involvement, which, as you can imagine, only fueled suspicions.
And this is where we encounter a particularly chilling quote from the sources.
Oh, okay.
Justice Moinul Islam Chowdhury, the chairman of the Enforced Disappearance Commission,
Right.
stated years after Elias Ali's disappearance that the possibility of his return was almost non-existent.
Wow.
That statement speaks volumes. It goes beyond Elias Ali and suggests a grim reality about enforced disappearances in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
These cases are often not about finding the missing person,
Right.
but about silencing dissent and creating a climate of fear. It's a tactic that can be brutally effective. So where do we go from here? We have established that Elias Ali was a prominent political figure, abducted under mysterious circumstances, and there are strong suspicions about the RB's involvement. We've seen how the government's response has been, well, less than helpful. But what about the investigations? Did anyone even try to uncover the truth?
That's what we'll be diving into next. The investigations, or perhaps more accurately, the lack thereof, are a crucial part of this story.
So we're back. And now we're turning our attention to the investigations surrounding Elias Ali's disappearance. This is where things get really murky.
Yeah, you're right to use the word murky. The sources you've provided point to this deliberate obfuscation of facts, almost as if there was a systematic attempt to bury the truth.
So we're not just talking about incompetence here, but something more sinister.
Yeah.
A deliberate effort to shield those responsible from any scrutiny.
Well, it is a serious allegation.
Yeah.
But the evidence, from these sources seems to support that view. It raises concerns about the very foundations of rule of law in Bangladesh. If a high-profile case like this can be swept under the rug, what hope is there for ordinary citizens seeking justice?
It sets a chilling precedent. But let's get into the specifics. What do our sources tell us about the actual actions taken or not taken by the authorities?
The sources, they highlight the series of missed opportunities and botched procedures, especially in those early stages.
Right.
Witnesses weren't interviewed thoroughly. Forensic evidence was mishandled. Even credible leads were dismissed without proper follow-up.
It almost sounds like a deliberate attempt to sabotage the process from the start.
It's a strong accusation, but the lack of urgency, the sheer number of errors, it's detailed in the sources. It's hard to ignore the possibility. The authorities, they seemed more focused on protecting their image than uncovering the truth.
And all this time, Luna, Elias Ali's wife, was fighting for answers. The sources portray her as this relentless advocate.
Oh, yeah.
Refusing to let the case fade away.
She challenged the authorities at every turn, demanding answers, keeping the case in the public eye. It's a testament to the power of an individual's perseverance against such formidable obstacles.
But she couldn't fight this battle alone. What about the international community? Did they exert any pressure on the Bangladesh government?
There was certainly international concern. Human rights organizations and various international bodies, they called for a transparent investigation. But their impact was limited.
Why do you think that was? Is it a case of realpolitik trumping human rights concerns?
It's a complex mix of factors,
Right.
Bangladesh, despite its human rights record, holds the strategic position in the region, both economically and geopolitically.
Right.
This often leads to a certain degree of leniency from the international community.
So strategic interests often overshadow ethical considerations. It's a pattern we see repeated all around the world.
Yeah.
But even with limited international pressure, surely there were internal investigations within Bangladesh. They couldn't just ignore the case completely.
Right. Well, there were a few attempts, mostly driven by public pressure and Luna's, unwavering advocacy.
Okay.
The sources mention the formation of several committees and commissions to investigate enforced disappearances. But their effectiveness is questionable.
In what way? Were they just for show? A way to appease the public without actually achieving anything?
That's the perception amongst many observers.
Right.
These bodies, they lacked the independence, the resources, and most importantly, the political will to conduct thorough investigations. Their reports were often delayed, watered down, or simply ignored by the authorities.
So is this cycle of investigations leading nowhere, this bureaucratic maze designed to deflect accountability?
Yeah, and tragically, that meant that no one was held accountable for Elias Ali's disappearance. The perpetrators remain free, the truth remains buried. It's a stark reminder of the limitations of justice when power and impunity are at play.
But amidst all this darkness, are there any glimmers of hope? Are there signs that things might be changing for the better in Bangladesh?
There's always hope.
Yeah.
And the sources point to this growing civil society movement within Bangladesh,
Okay.
one that's increasingly vocal in demanding accountability and justice for victims of enforced disappearances.
So the fight's far from over. People are refusing to be silenced, and they're demanding a reckoning for past injustices.
Exactly. Public awareness, collective action, and the pursuit of truth. They're essential in challenging impunity and ensuring that cases like Elias Ali's are not forgotten. This case, tragic as it is, has become a symbol of that very struggle.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, the human spirit can prevail. That's a powerful message to carry with us as we head into the final part of our deep dive. We'll be examining the enduring legacy of Elias Ali's disappearance and the ongoing struggle for truth and reconciliation in Bangladesh. So we've delved into the night. Elias Ali vanished, the tangled web of the investigation, and the courageous fight for answers by his family. But this case, it goes beyond one man's fate. It really raises questions about the very fabric of Bangladeshi society.
Yeah, what's striking is how Elias Ali's disappearance, it kind of became a turning point in the conversation around enforced disappearances in Bangladesh.
Right.
It shattered this illusion that this was something that only happened to ordinary citizens. Suddenly, it was clear that even prominent figures, those, operating within the corridors of power, they could become victims too.
It's like this crack in the facade.
Yeah.
A stark reminder that no one is truly safe when those in authority operate with such blatant disregard for the law. Did this shift in perception, though, lead to any tangible changes in the way enforced disappearances were handled?
There have been some developments, albeit slow and incremental. The sources note the establishment of a National Human Rights Commission
Okay.
and the ratification of international conventions against enforced disappearances.
These seem like positive steps, but are they enough to truly tackle such a deeply ingrained problem? Institutions can be created, laws can be passed, but what about the underlying culture of impunity?
You're hitting on a crucial point there.
Yeah.
Changing laws and structures is one thing, but shifting deeply ingrained attitudes, challenging power dynamics, and dismantling entrenched interests, that's a far more difficult task.
Yeah.
It's like treating the symptoms without addressing the underlying disease. There might be temporary improvements, but the problem will persist unless that root cause is addressed. This brings us to that difficult topic of truth and reconciliation. Where does Bangladesh stand in terms of acknowledging past wrongs and providing justice for victims?
It's a journey that's still unfolding,
Yeah.
with both progress and setbacks along the way. While there have been efforts to investigate past cases of enforced disappearances, many, including Elias Ali's, remain unresolved. The sources highlight the ongoing struggle for truth and justice, the persistent demands for answers from families who have been left in limbo for years.
It's a heartbreaking reality. So much time has passed, yet the families are still left with this agonizing uncertainty. Reading through these sources, I'm struck by the enduring impact of Elias Ali's disappearance. What is his legacy, and how has it shaped the political landscape of Bangladesh?
Well, his case, it undeniably brought the issue of enforced disappearances to the forefront of public discourse. It fueled a wave of activism, with human rights groups, civil society organizations, and ordinary citizens demanding accountability and an end to these practices.
So Elias Ali's case, in a tragic way, it became a catalyst for change. It forced people to confront the reality of state-sponsored violence and demand better protection for all citizens.
Precisely. It also highlighted the crucial role of independent media and a vibrant civil society in holding power to account. The sources consistently emphasize how public pressure, fueled by media coverage and tireless advocacy, kept the case alive even when those in power tried to bury it.
It speaks to the power of collective action, the idea that even in the face of immense obstacles, ordinary people can make a difference. It's inspiring, yet at the same time, incredibly sad that it takes such a tragedy to spark this kind of movement. As we conclude this deep dive, I'm left with this profound sense of unease, knowing that this story, it's not unique to Bangladesh.
You're right. Enforced disappearances are a global problem. It's a stain on humanity's conscience.
Yeah.
But the pursuit of justice, the demand for accountability, these are universal aspirations. The fight, it might be long and arduous, but it's a fight worth having.
Elias Ali's case, and the countless others like it, serve as this stark reminder that the pursuit of justice isn't a destination. It's a journey that demands our attention, our empathy, and our unwavering support. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it has challenged your perspectives and perhaps ignited your own passion for justice. Remember, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, the pursuit of truth and the fight for human rights, well, those are battles worth fighting.